and a huge night for your career as well.
Massive night for my career. So yeah, victorious 100%. That's my goal, that's my plan, and that's my motivation. So yeah, looking forward to it. Respect to the team. May the best man win.
Thoughts?
Well, my thoughts on it is that Jake Paul's had a lot of accusations over the years for a guy who's had no amateur fights. What's he had, about 10 or 12 fights? I'm not sure what he's had. And, you know, you look at the opposition he's had and people saying, when's he going to fight somebody? He stepped up. He's stepping up to a two-time world champion, a genuine heavyweight, a proper heavyweight champion, and an active fighter. And this is a big moment for him.
Instantly became one of the most electric, unpredictable, and tension-filled moments the boxing world has seen in years, as the two fighters, from completely different worlds of combat sports, stood nose-to-nose in a face-off that felt like a collision of eras, cultures, and generations inside the same squared circle.
AJ is 6'6", 250. Even if AJ just wants to keep him on the end of a jab, look at the reach. He's got a 6-inch reach on Jake, and trust me, the Chloe Concept has told me the 6 inches is more than enough, okay? So that's going to be a problem. Again, not even talking about the fact that AJ is more dangerous with just his power, but the jab, the reach, the extent, turnover of the right hand, he's going to be able to hit Jake at range. Jake can't even hit him. 43 amateur fights, 32 pro fights. He's 28-4. He's an Olympian. He's a gold medalist. He's won the world title. Delusional, yes. Very rich, yes.
Jake Paul walked in with his trademark confidence, the swagger of someone who has built his brand by turning every doubt into fuel, staring directly into the eyes of a former heavyweight champion without flinching, refusing to show even a flicker of intimidation despite the size difference, the resume gap, and the mountain of global expectations weighing on his shoulders.
Turn up and just make it look like an exhibition. I don't know what that helps Anthony Joshua do besides get a big paycheck. If that's all he needs and that's all he wants, given the fact that he's been demolished by Daniel Dubois in his most recent fight, I thought Anthony was built of sterner stuff than that.
But many people just want to see Joshua back in the ring, Simon.
But
they want to see him fight again.
Well, they want to. No, they don't. They want to see him fight a legitimate fighter. They want to see if Anthony Joshua is now done. They want to see if Anthony Joshua being destroyed by Daniel Dubois is the end of the Golden Boy journey that apparently rebooted British.
Anthony Joshua, towering and sculpted like a Greek statue, didn't blink either, but while Jake radiated bravado, AJ radiated something colder, a seasoned calm, the kind of silent assurance only a man who's fought the biggest and baddest in the world can carry.
To me, it shows me his desire. Pick up 50 million along the way. Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter.
The crowd surrounding them erupted in chants, divided between Jake's army of New Age fans who believe he's the disruptor boxing needs and Joshua's loyal supporters who believe this fight is going to be a reality check too brutal for YouTube fame to protect him from.
Making this fight, one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and I may be in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw, and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp. But an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal.
Cameras flashed, security leaned in, and the air felt thick with danger as Jake flexed his jaw, Joshua smirked slightly, and the atmosphere turned into psychological warfare, a game of intimidation, pride, and ego before a single punch is even thrown.
Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy." He being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? You think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davis' take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh in Riyadh season.
Jake broke the silence first with trash talk, calling himself the future and insisting Joshua is just a stepping stone on his way to the heavyweight throne. AJ didn't respond with words, but with a slow nod, as if absorbing the disrespect and filing it away for later when fists will speak louder than microphones ever could.
Seeing this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, as a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Cheers.
Fans online immediately went crazy over the moment, arguing whether Jake's fearlessness is real courage or reckless delusion, and whether Joshua's calmness is confidence or boredom. But what no one could deny was the raw electricity of seeing someone with Jake's path crash directly into someone with Joshua's pedigree.
Wrong with Francis. He can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. It's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua, and Joshua shows you how it's done. Right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. I mean, not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing and just the accomplishments. I mean, you take Joshua Benson, Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. Multiple generations of boxing ties. You know, go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing since you can tie Joshua to. And he's a professional and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense. Right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to now, none of us know what sense mean. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or money or business or sport makes sense, like Francis's level of success is not remarkably.
Analysts pointed out the weight difference, noting that Jake has never stood toe-to-toe with someone this massive, someone whose jab alone can rattle skulls, yet Jake's team claims size won't matter because he's faster, more explosive, and mentally hungrier than Joshua has been in years.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with a huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardize his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact. Whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might damage it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his bank balance, but I don't think. I think in the great. I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many...
Joshua, meanwhile, looked like a man who doesn't care about YouTube narratives or viral clips. He looked like a man who came to do a job, cash a check, and maybe shut down the loudest voice in boxing with one well-timed knockout that will circulate on the internet for decades.
Unless somebody wants to kill Jake, does someone want to kill Jake Paul?
The move is bizarre, and I can't help but feel like this calculated gamble is going to go horrendously wrong.
Whoa. I think there's something there about maybe the way Americans say Anthony Joshua. I've seen it because he's not the only American. Like, there's retired boxers been calling AJ out from over there. Like, I don't think that they realize, because of what AJ was like when he performed in America against Andy Ruiz, and just generally since then, you know, he's lost a couple. I think they massively underestimate him. And I also think part of it is just Jake Paul thinking, what's the biggest fucking name I can do? What's the biggest event? What's one that I actually, delusionally in my opinion, think that he's got a chance of just landing a big shot on him, and he just doesn't rate AJ's chin. And it's like, yeah, but like Daniel Dubois, it's not the same, is it? What does this do to Anthony Joshua's legacy just by even taking this fight? Lawrence, you've known him for a lot of years. to be honest, that's who I'm focused on. I don't really care about Jake Paul. I'm just thinking, AJ needs to get himself back on track after that devastating defeat to Daniel Dubois. Why is he concentrating on Jake Paul? Like, he doesn't need him on his radar. He needs to be focusing on real fighters. And in terms of legacy, I mean, yeah, he's an active fighter. When your career's done, finished, have those type of fun fights. But right now, it makes zero sense to me. So it's just frustrating for me to be totally honest.
That's the mistake that you're making, though, Loza, because you think he's still an active. He's semi-retired. This is the movement of someone that is on his way out of the game, and you can't turn down that type of money, especially on the night's work that it's going to be. This is like he's already got generational wealth, but you can imagine how big this is going to be. And it's
Netflix, guys. Netflix.
It's massive. Like, so that even I remember Eddie Hearn talking about it, and it seemed like he really wanted that fight, and it's really.
The face-off nearly escalated when Jake stepped forward and bumped shoulders with AJ, sending security scrambling, pushing trainers, promoters, and officials between them as both fighters refused to step back. AJ stayed calm but focused, while Jake barked in his face, promising to shock the world and end the myth of Anthony Joshua. The arena shook with anticipation, and even those who think the matchup shouldn't be happening admitted the energy was addictive, like watching two trains on the same track headed straight for collision with no brakes.
With Tank to actually fighting Anthony Joshua, depending on the terms, because here's the thing, Jake Paul started boxing late, so Joshua, to me, this would be a very dangerous fight. So I do got to look at the terms, meaning, are they going 3-minute rounds? Is it a 6-rounder? Is it a 10-rounder? Is it a 12 championship round they're going to make up a belt? Like, what are the terms for this fight? Because Joshua is 6'6", brolic, an Olympic gold medalist. So that's biting off a lot. So for me, I got to first see the fight actually come into fruition, not just like, reports, because Ring has previously reported Virgil Ortiz and Jerron Boots Ennis verbally agreed and the deal is expected to be signed, and it gets clicks and people get hyped up.
Commentators said if the psychological battle means anything, Jake won the volume and Joshua won the intensity, because one yelled while the other didn't need to. The face-off ended with AJ walking away first, not in retreat but in control, while Jake kept pointing and yelling as if to prove his presence, which fans and analysts immediately interpreted differently. Some called it mind games from Joshua, others said Jake got under his skin. Regardless of the interpretation, one fact became clear: this isn't just a fight anymore, it's personal, it's emotional, and it's a culture war where one side believes in tradition and merit, and the other believes in disruption and evolution. The clip spread across the internet in seconds, generating millions of views, memes, predictions, and arguments, because there is no middle ground. Either Jake Paul is committing career suicide by stepping into the ring with a heavyweight monster, or he is about to pull off the biggest upset in the history of combat sports. And after that face-off, with the tension, the chaos, the energy, and the volcanic emotion erupting between them, one thing is guaranteed: when Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua finally touch gloves on fight night, the world will not just be watching, it will be holding its breath.